Welcome, race fans, to Pump the Brakes, the one, the only, the Cadillac of Formula One podcasts. I am your host, the Pitlane Patriot. The Japanese Grand Prix is in the books. We've got a full breakdown for you on what that means for the entire grid, and specifically our team Cadillac. Let's go. Japan weekend has come and gone, folks, and it was a good one. It felt like one of those weekends where the season actually started tightening up on like who's real, who's not. Don't get me wrong, Suzuka always matters because it's one of the purest tracks in Formula One. But this year it mattered more, given the regulations, given the parity among the field. It was interesting going in. Was Mercedes going to keep bullying the field? Was Ferrari actually starting to close that gap? Could McLaren start their season? And was Red Bull going to find a way out of this mess with their first season with their own powertrain? And by Sunday night, we had some real answers and a couple of more rising questions. But before we even got into the track action, there was already a real talking point hanging over the weekend. The start of the weekend, the FIA actually tweaked the energy rules for qualifying. They reduced the amount of energy drivers could harvest from the Saturday session from 9 megajoules to 8. Basically, this was meant to let the drivers push harder and spend less time doing energy management gymnastics. So they heard the drivers' concerns, and I guess this is sort of their way to say, we heard you. That told you straight away that Formula One already knows that the new 2026 regulations are still being adjusted in real time, because they are. It's a huge change, and the FIA is very open to race-by-race changes. So personally, I think this is a great thing. So the actual weekend itself. Friday started with Mercedes looking like the team everybody feared they were becoming. George Russell topped FP1 and led McLaren 1-2 from Kimi Antonelli. And Lando Norris placed third, so we got to see a little shining light from our champion. But the bigger Friday twist came in FP2, because suddenly McLaren looked alive. Finally, Oscar Piastri went fastest in second practice, above Antonelli and above Russell, and above his teammate Norris. Russell himself admitted McLaren's pace was a little bit of a surprise. So the Friday picture was not Mercedes walking over everybody. It was Mercedes still looking strongest overall. It was McLaren finally showing life after a nightmare in China. Then FP3 gave us one more hint that Kimi Antonelli was gearing up for something big. He topped first practice by beating Russell, and then he looked confident again at the circuit that's not supposed to forgive hesitation. By Saturday lunchtime, the pattern was pretty clear. Mercedes was still the team to beat. Antonelli had real single-lap confidence, McLaren had enough pace to be dangerous, and Ferrari was hanging around close enough to matter. So we're starting to see the formation of this big four that we have every season, really. And it's kind of how we thought it was going to be, save for Red Bull. The grid is turning into what we expected it to be at the beginning of the season. Now, qualifying absolutely delivered. Antonelli took his second straight pole with a 128.778 lap time. Russell made it another Mercedes front row lockout, and your boy Oscar Piastri put the McLaren in third to remind everyone they're still the championship leader. He put him ahead of Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, and Lewis Hamilton. Then behind them, things got interesting. Pierre Gasly stuck in the Alpine into 7th, Isaac Hadjar was 8th, Gabriel Bortoleto put the Audi in 9th, and the rookie Arvid Lindblad grabbed that last spot in the points. Biggest story of qualifying is probably that Max Verstappen got dumped out in Q2 in 11th, after describing the Red Bull as very difficult to drive and saying the car had bigger problems. Now, that doesn't hold up that well when 3 people with that engine placed above you, Max. So this could just be a little bit of Max complaining because he's not doing as well and killing Suzuka as he's used to doing the last 4 years. And yes, that Godzilla liveried Haas locked in and looked pretty cool all weekend. But it didn't save Ollie Behrman from getting knocked out early during the qualifying. Now, we can go back to last week where I said that I believed the Bear Man would take that Godzilla liveried car to Haas's first ever podium. But we didn't get off to that start. Ollie was dumped out in Q2. Ollie got knocked out very early in qualifying, so Godzilla didn't exactly have its best start in Japan. So when the lights went out, the whole script got ripped up. Like at race time, Piastri made a brilliant start from third and grabbed the lead into turn 1. Leclerc also launched beautifully, and both McLarens slipped backwards. Kimi Antonelli had what he himself described as a horrible start. He has not figured out how to do this in F1 yet. He's well aware that he needs to learn. Kimi dropped from pole to 6th on the opening lap. That's how bad his starting has been, so he really needs to figure out how to do this. So instead of a clean Mercedes opening, Suzuka gave us a proper shuffle right away. It gave us a real test to see, who knows how to start these races properly under these regulations. And those cars were rewarded. And for the moment, it looked like the McLaren might finally cash in some of that speed. See, the opening stint was one of the most fun phases of the season so far, because Russell came alive quickly and started slicing forward. Antonelli did the same from deeper in the pack, although he ended up deeper in the pack because of his own fault at the start. McLaren had real pace, Ferrari was lurking, and for a while we looked like we were building towards proper strategic fighting between Piastri, the Mercedes cars, and Ferraris. The pit sequence started, Norris came in first, then Leclerc, then Piastri, which set up a decisive moment of the race. So now you've got Leclerc, Piastri, and Ferrari all pitting, and Mercedes has chosen to stay out longer. This is pivotal, because the whole Grand Prix turned on its head when the Godzilla car that I believed was going to go onto the podium crashed. Ollie Behrman crashed out on lap 22. He was closing fast on Franco Colapinto, threw spoon and misjudged the speed, and then ended up in the dirt, tried to get a hold of the car, spun, and hit the barrier at a force of 50 G. Granted, it was not all Ollie's fault. Franco was going at a very, very strange speed for where he was at on the track. And it's new regulations. So people like Ollie, who's only in his second year of Formula One, are definitely still learning. So Ollie hits the wall. He ends up banged up. He's okay. That's great. But it brings out the safety car. Now, this is pivotal because a safety car basically means a free pit. So everybody has to line up behind that safety car, wait till the debris is over, maintain position until it's race start. So while you're doing that, you may as well get in a quick pit stop. So people who save their pits and don't pit and then a safety car comes out, that person just got very lucky with a free pit. So Antonelli, at the time of the safety car, had not pitted yet. So he got the cheap stop under caution and kept the lead. Basically, Antonelli was able to fight his way back up the field after his terrible start, but he was still fighting. But then, because he stayed out during this safety car, it was basically a runaway from Antonelli from here on out, because Antonelli got to get in the cheap stop and then head back up into first on fresh tires, having had lost no time due to the safety car. So once the safety car restart, Antonelli was in first, fresh tires. The race was pretty much his at that point. Once the race restarted, Antonelli looked like the driver that had fully arrived. He nailed the restart, held Piastri behind, and then just disappeared. He had like a 12 seconds head start on everybody. He was flying. Russell's restart went badly. He lost out to Hamilton, and that changed the shape of the podium fight. From there, Antonelli controlled the race beautifully. Piastri held on for McLaren's first podium of the season, and Ferrari turned it into its own little war, with Leclerc ultimately beating both Hamilton and a late Russell attack to take third. So yes, after a bad start, was Antonelli sort of gifted this one? A little bit, but luck is involved when it comes to sports, and that's not just bad luck. Sometimes you capitalize on some good luck, so a little beginner's luck for the young Antonelli. Outside the podium, the ugliest big story was Red Bull. Verstappen could only finish 8th after a Q2 exit, and afterwards he sounded way beyond the normal bad mood weekend. He said he was thinking about his future in Formula One, not just because Red Bull is struggling, but because he hates the direction of the new energy management heavy regulations. So Suzuka did not just feel like another disappointment for Red Bull. It felt like a pressure point for the team, for the rules, and maybe even for Verstappen's long-term mood with this sport. Verstappen said many times that 4 championships is great, and he's never going to look back on his life and think, well, what if I won a 5th championship? He's done what he wanted to do in this sport, and he's already shown a lot of interest in other areas outside of Formula One, like esports or his own GT3 team. Verstappen's got other things in mind. He may be done with this sport if things don't change. So, to summarize, in the Suzuka Grand Prix, Kimi Antonelli won his 2nd straight win in a row. He was sort of gifted it, but he won. Mercedes stayed on top, but not in a boring way. Again, Antonelli became the weekend's main character. McLaren finally came back to life. Ferrari stayed annoying in the best possible sense. I was phenomenally wrong on my prediction. Instead of Ali Behrman taking the Godzilla to the podium, Ali Behrman stuck the Godzilla straight into the wall. It happens. I was wrong. Put that one down for the record books. And Red Bull left Japan looking like a team with a car problem, a regulation problem, and maybe even a morale problem. Antonelli's win made him the youngest championship leader in Formula One history, the only championship leader that's a teenager. For the next 100 days, everything Antonelli does will be a record breaker for a teenager because he's still a teenager. A crazier stat, Kimi Antonelli became the first Italian to win back-to-back Grand Prix since Alberto Ascari in 1953. That's crazy. Italians, he may not be in a Ferrari as he should be, but that's a pretty huge deal that you guys have a dominant Italian driver again in Formula One because Alberto Ascari, it's been a minute. And that's pretty much your summary on the entirety of the Japanese Grand Prix. I feel like I might be missing something though. Oh, right. But what does any of this mean for our team Cadillac?
Sergio Pérez with a lightning second sector, a lightning third sector.
Suzuka gave Cadillac one of those weekends that can leave you feeling two things at once. On the one hand, no, we are not satisfied with being 17th and 19th. That's not where this team wants to live. But on the other hand, Suzuka gave us some real evidence that the car is moving in the right direction and that the team gave cleaner operational and foundational results. So it's not a feel-good result, but it was a useful result. So coming into Japan, the team itself knew exactly what this weekend was about. Cadillac had just come off its first double finish in China, yippee, and arrived in Suzuka to carry what Dan Towers called real momentum. Graham Loudon, team principal, said that the team was improving every time it hit the track through operational refinements, growing the understanding of the car, and increasing reliability. And the team brought more minor aero updates for Japan, as they plan to do every single race weekend, at least until the summer, including revised mirrors, which was an issue, diffuser fence, and trying to keep that early season development push alive. The clearest thing we know about our Mac 26, the Mario Andretti Cadillac 2026 as it's called, right now, the Ferrari power unit is not the main excuse, obviously. You see how it performs in the Haas, you see how it performs in Ferrari itself, it's not an excuse. Valtteri Bottas has been very open about that. Ferrari's competitive, Haas is showing good pace. Cadillac can mirror Ferrari's deployment if it wants. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The real weakness is in the car itself, especially aero load, especially rear aero load. Bottas said that the lack of rear load has boxed the team in mechanically because they have to protect the rear end so much. The weakness hurts everything: balance, tire behavior, apex speed, even energy harvesting. So this rear load and this imbalance is something that we really need to work on. And Suzuka, with all of its high-speed directional changes, was a good truth serum to help expose some of those weaknesses. It's the chassis. It's our aero. We've got work to do. Now, Friday was probably the most encouraging part of the whole weekend. Cadillac completed 84 laps across the two sessions. Bottas called it the best day the team has had so far this season, and for once, his side of the garage had no issues whatsoever. He said the upgrades gave the car a bit more load and stability, which mattered because that's exactly the area they needed to improve on. Perez's day, on the other hand, was messier. He lost time after an incident with Alex Albon and ended on FP1. And then he had another energy deployment issue in FP2. But even then, his commitment was more about the day not being straightforward than it was about a total disaster. So we're not facing total disasters coming into the garage. This is good signs. Neither Perez nor Bottas considered the car undrivable. Neither of them said that the team was unprepared. We're getting there. Now, qualifying. Qualifying is where the weekend got tricky to talk about because the positions still look ugly on paper. Perez was 19th, Bottas was 20th. Right at the back, right where we expected. It's not good enough, and there's no point in pretending otherwise. But inside those positions, the team saw something more encouraging. Perez said that the result was positive, but that there was still more potential to unlock in this car. Perez is always going to say that, and it's part of why we love him. Especially if they could, sort out their deployment issues, Perez would be really happy with the direction of this car. Bottas said the car felt better because they had gained a lot more load stability. It's still just not enough. There's time being lost. I believe both Perez and Bottas complained that they were losing up to 0.3 of a second on each lap just because of the way the grip is working on the corners, just also because of the way the load is balancing. These are issues that we can solve that's bleeding track time every single lap. And in 50 laps, 0.3 seconds per lap, it adds up. Again, we are not celebrating P19 and P20 here. We're acknowledging that the car is inching towards something more respectable. What I think Suzuka really showed is that the direction of travel still looks right. Bottas said on Friday that the team has gained a bit of load and stability with the upgrades. On Saturday, he said the car felt better. Even if the midfield was still a bit far away, this is positive. Graham Loudon's comments after qualifying was maybe the most important one of the weekend. He said that Cadillac has stepped forward in both pace and reliability, definitively. That does not mean the car is suddenly good. It just means that the development work is at least producing signals that we're going in the right direction. And it's a long season. So by the end of it, who knows? You might end up with a fairly competitive car. Point is, we're improving. And then we got to race day on Sunday. And again, the result was modest. Pérez finished in 17th, Bottas finished in 19th. But even there were things that mattered. Cadillac got its second straight double finish. Pérez finished on the lead lap for the first time this season, meaning he wasn't lapped. So while I believe neither car should be getting lapped, I will definitely see it as progress that one of our cars didn't get lapped. I know it sounds funny now, but just remember these kinds of things when one day we're, champions. Pérez says that it was the team's strongest race so far this season, that the deployment issue from qualifying felt under control on Sunday, and that Cadillac was clearly faster than Aston Martin, which means nothing because Aston Martin's car is fucked. Bottas wasn't as upbeat by his own side, though. He said he lacked a bit of performance and the hard tire strategy didn't work. But even then, he said the whole weekend was much cleaner with fewer issues and the team had learned a lot for the next race. And I'm sure this entire team is going to take every single bit of data and get to work over the next month, which they have off. What's the mood like in the Cadillac garage coming out of Suzuka? Hopeful, but not satisfied. That's the line I think Cadillac fans should hold after Suzuka. Hopeful? Yes. Satisfied? Absolutely not. We are not here to act like 17th and 19th is some kind of parade. That was some shit back in week 1 that maybe we would have let slide. No more. But we also are not going to ignore the real progress that's happening, even though it's happening slowly. Progress is progress, even if it's not at the pace that we want it to be. The team has now had back-to-back double finishes. One car finished on the lead lap. Friday was far cleaner than earlier weekends. And both drivers are still talking like this is a development problem, not a dead-end problem. And what's even more important for going into our next race is, like I said, this team's got a 1-month break. That part really matters. Cadillac gets a 5-week break before its first home race in Miami. And Bottas has already said that before Suzuka that this gap could be quite beneficial. He said the team still had issues, still had not had a trouble-free weekend. And that extra time would help them sort out a lot of problems, find more performance, gel together as a team, sit down together, figure things out without having to, rush the car to another race in Saudi Arabia or Bahrain. So this month off is not dead time. For Cadillac, it's development time. This is fix the car time. This is let's get aerodynamics under control time. And that is what makes Miami feel so important. Bottas literally called it the team's first home Grand Prix, and Pérez said he hopes the upgrades come there that can put Cadillac more into the mix. It's our first race in the US. This is going to be exciting. Loudon confirmed that an upgrade package is absolutely coming from Miami. So the vibe leaving Suzuka should be this. We are not happy with the current level, but we are heading into a month where the team gets to breathe. Time to analyze, time to bring more to the car before a race that is going to matter emotionally in a big way. So my verdict on Cadillac at Suzuka is this. Not good enough yet, but still moving the right way. The result was not satisfying. The car is still lacking way too much, and it's having its own problems. The midfield is still way too far ahead. We are not competing with the midfield as of now. We are barely finishing races. Us, Aston Martin, Williams at times. We're having trouble. But the reliability looked better. The upgrades appear to have helped. The execution was cleaner. And the team now gets a month to go find more. Then it's Miami. The first home race energy. First real chance to come back swinging. I'll tell you something else that's pretty exciting. The Pitlane Patriot will be at the starting line of the Miami Grand Prix. I'll be sitting there all weekend, watching our team cross that finish line at the start and end of each session for its first runs here on home soil. And I'll give you guys all the coverage straight from the track.
Cadillac coming into the sports, of course. 57 laps to go. And it's lights out and away we go.
And there you have it, folks. That is our Japanese GP review. But wait, pit lane. There's a whole month off of races, so are we not going to get episodes? I told you guys it's Wednesday. No, it's every Wednesday no matter what. And 2 races getting canceled, that's the what. We will be right back here next week, and we'll have plenty more to talk about all month. We'll talk about Cadillac's history, Cadillac's development. We'll talk about a little Colton Herta. We're going to get into all the meat and bones of our team and keep you guys posted during this month break. Stick around. Join us next week. We'll be back. Peace out.